practice here for a long time, and opinion was greatly divided as between those who felt that the Igbos had a case and that Nigeria was badly governed and that it was time that something happened and that the Igbos were good people who deserved to be, and others who felt that Nigeria should remain as it was and the boundaries should remain. And if you...
So why was there an empire and different groups of natives, right? The Aztecs were the serpent people. No offense. This is why the Mexican mafia is aligned to the Aryan Brotherhood. Okay? Doesn't mean all Southsiders are bad. It means that there's these serpent people that are taking their children and forcing them to join the Aztec Empire. Okay? Now think about the hawks, right? The hawk flying around the fire. What's the difference between the serpent sacrificing the Aztec on the pyramid? You know, the snake temple, the temple of Apep, right? Pyramid. And the hawk flying around the fire. Any of you know? Anyway. Crazy Horse's descendant. Geronimo's tribe? How about in Canada? How about the Cree, the Apache, the Cherokee? Any of you know the difference? Well, watch my videos. Slay the bull with the sword of God. Trample the snake. Use a staff of God. A mighty righteous group of people, or literally a staff. Use your sexual energy. Righteousness. Have sex in a way that is righteous. Make love. Make children out of love. Make war out of love. Make peace out of love. Make temples out of love. Resist, transcend, and defy. Out of love. Have the heart to take on the serpent. Because if you don't, you are a Tinkerbell, namby-pamby, candy-ass, Nancy boy little bitch. I don't give a fuck. If you're 5'2", 80 pounds. Your glasses are fogging up right now. Motherfucker, you find it in your heart to man up. You understand me? You buy a gun, you shoot that motherfucker. You start working out, mind, body, soul. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to work out all the day. Just do a little something to help you keep in shape. You don't have to be a great warrior. But you make sure these apeps don't push you around. You make sure they don't wrap around your kids and hold them down and swallow them. Why do you think they teach wrestling in school and not sparring? Because we don't teach society to have the discipline to do martial arts in school, and we separate church from state. Well, who separates the church from state? The pagan Romans, right? We don't want that Afro-Asiatic, darky martial arts stuff. We do Greco-Roman wrestling. Then there's other white people who say, hey, we can always pretend that the Egyptians were white. How does that sound? Because we think that stuff's cool, and we want to do it. How about we pretend they're white? That's how we got here. The 6, the 9, and the 7 agreeing with the 9. And now Jesus looks like a Nordic motherfucker. Mass is done in Latin, and the Romans were the ones that pushed it.
The mad and homicidal desire to exterminate from the face of the earth 14 million Biafrans drove the one and his clique towards unleashing a costly war to attain the unattainable, the subjugation of this young but promising republic. Even with the vast resources of the former Federation of Nigeria, with which to prosecute the war, even with the active collaboration of those international opportunists, Britain and the Soviet Union, an unholy alliance of vested interests.
So Atuku didn't like the Masons, working together. They're international financiers, an unholy alliance. We are holy Christian people, okay? They're the people who've always said, get that Afro-Asiatic mud stuff out of here. We're gonna let the white trash and the snakes from their races deal with the mud, right? And dirt, and then when they're done killing them and their body dries up, they'll sweep the dirt under the rug. That's what it means.
Even with the attempt to subvert our government by suborning some of our highly placed military and civilian personnel, an attempt which was foiled at the nick of time, Gawan has failed to make good his boast to crush Biafra. A campaign which he bragged would only take 48 hours to accomplish has now dragged on for almost 5 months and will drag on for as long as it takes Gawan and his clique, both Nigerian and others, to realize that nothing can shake the will or crush the spirit of a determined people.
Stop right there. How did he put it? The spirit of a determined people. And what makes people tribes and groups? Shared values, right? In every nation, there are different groups or cultures, which usually are the result of cults, okay? Because temples were destroyed, and they have shared cultural values, right? We are the spirit of Horus, resisting Apep and Set.
If Gawan's military campaign has achieved anything, it is only a confirmation of the fact that Biafrans have nothing to expect but destruction from the hands of their erstwhile Nigerian compatriots. In the few border towns which fell into the hands of the Nigerian forces, Biafrans were pillaged and what could not be stolen was destroyed, while the men were shot and tortured and the women defiled.
This is what they do. Whenever Judah defies Apep, Set is backed up by Apep, the 6 and the 9. This is what they do. 7 must eat 9 and absorb them. They must recognize that my thinking is better. Like this guy did.
It was in the Patriachal for a long time, and opinion was greatly divided as between those who felt that the Igbos had a case and that Nigeria was badly governed and that it was time that something happened and that the Igbos were good people.
I stop right there. It has to do with governance, and he said the Igbos are good people. Remember the wordplay, God, good people. If you're a good people, you are a God people, right? If you're an evil people, you're a devil people, a white people, for example. But there's always exceptions to the rules, right? So in the ancient world, the civilizers who brought the light, who were considered good, the sons of Ra, the sons of the light, were the black people who civilized Egypt from the south. You know, you think Johnny-come-latelys were supporting a battle, from the north? No. They came from the south. Okay, the other races were in the north who were by the ships. And to this day, we all know that the slaves came on ships. Okay, these are the rowmen. Row, row, row your boat with the children of Horus. Take them to a new land, away from the Biafran forest. Why do they concentrate on the coast of Nigeria? They knew that the greatest warriors were there. They knew that a lot of people were there. Do the math, okay? The Igbos are the real Jews of Africa, and you know them by their works. The Ethiopians are Jews as well, but they are not Judah. They are, and if they are not the creme de la creme of Judah. We are. They are mixed with other stuff. We are the Afro heavy, the African heavy. Remember, Pharaoh kicked out Abram, said, take your bitch with you. Oh, excuse me, take your wife. Remember, Pharaoh kicked out Abram and said, take your wife with you. I don't want to offend God. That was symbolic of Africans being in charge and more consistent with God. Think about it. Why didn't Abraham say, you know what, I'm going to carry my cross? No. He was put in check by an African, a black African. He said, look, take your woman with you. I don't want to offend God. Remember what happened? Remember, the Jews were taken into captivity in the 1600s. So when did Abram go to Egypt? Exactly. There were blacker pharaohs there. The blacker in the beginning. Egypt is the story of man. It was blacker in the beginning, and the divine order was naturally set. And then when all these little snake whiners started crying up a storm, it fell apart. And there were people from every race that fell into line with the black order of Horus. Okay? Whites, Hittites, you name it. So when we were separated, some of them are like, brother. And we're like, brother. And now we're gone. And it's all these snakes. You understand me? I mean, forget how we look. Just remember the order. The race doesn't matter because we were all different races than we are today in the temple anyway. My ancestors didn't look like me. Your ancestors did not look exactly like you. But then we were all in the temple together. The black and the Asian man together. The Caucasian, the Eastern Asian, the Asiatic, the African, the Nubian, the ancient Igbo. Before Igbo Uku even. Going way back thousands and thousands of years. The black and the Asian man together. And now you let these piss ants tear us apart when you are the little man with the heart of a giant. Don't let these piss ants who don't understand who they are tell you what to do. Fuck them. You tell them I belong with the giants because I have the heart of the giants. And you ain't telling me shit, you serpent. Fuck. You tell them Big Mecklope. Those of you who are Christians will understand right away. It's about building the temple with the upper Egypt or the upper soul. Okay, philosophy, the Afro-Asiatic philosophy. The Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed One, was the greatest divine war artist from the tribe of Judah and the greatest war artist that ever lived. His mind, body, and soul was superior. That's why he said at one point, don't you realize I could get a legion of angels right now and crush all these people right now if I wanted? He timed it out, okay? It was strategy, speed, and physical contact. So what happened? God's speed, my son. God came real fast, right on time. He timed everything out perfectly. He always had a witty response. He was a fast thinker. He was superior, mind, body, and soul. Render unto Caesar that which is his. He spoke in a way that wise men understood, but they could not prosecute him for. But they knew exactly what he was getting at. That's why they said, speak plainly. He knew Judas was a Kissinger type of Jew who was from the snake temple, and he knew he would betray him. And he timed it out so that he would die exactly on time. Jesus was not a con man. They are the con men. Jesus was a man sent by God to convert people, not to the con, but to the thinking of the light temple of God. Jesus came to bring a sword to rid us of Apep. Apep, to cut him open and free you from the belly of the beast, the serpent, Apep. The baby falcon, the baby hawk, asses. They use the forbidden fruit and sexual immorality, and they have their eye on your baby's asses. And any sacred ground or any sacred temple they can desecrate them in, they will. And this is their religion, I promise you. I'm not just making this up. When you go against me, you are helping the people who have their eyes on your children's asses. That's why they named it the asses. Oh yeah, so this is from the Department of the Army, 2008 or so, much after 9/11. First of all, I swear on the Bible that I have told the truth, and I'm doing what I know is right. I honestly know that I'm the top martial artist, and I deserve my rightful place. believe that Osiris at this point is best symbolized by my uncle. My grandmother is the righteous example of a good Christian woman. She is Isis, and therefore my son is Horus, and I represent him as well. For their sake, my grandma, the Trinity of Igbo and Judah, I grant you a pass until the end of my May challenge. And I won't hurt anyone, and I don't plan to hurt myself or anyone else. I'll be calm, and I'll walk in accord with my ancestors. Until then, in the name of Chike, which is coming very soon. I love you all. I swear to God, I'll give you all a fair shake. If you think my challenge is not fair or I'm doing something wrong, please put it in the comments. Please operate in the light, brothers. I walk in the light. Thank you. Really briefly, if I put my nose like this, it looks crickets. That's why I turn my head like this. In case you're wondering. And it's also similar to an eagle. And the light, the eagle turns his head. Remember, Apep is more flexible. Okay? His money is more flexible too. Whereas Horus is usually invested in the kids, Apep is invested in snaking the kids to make his money. So during the Nigerian Civil War, the Apeps, teamed up with the other Apeps. They gave them guns to kill the Igbos. And a small group of protesting Jews from Israel armed the Igbos as well, because they knew how we feel. But you could tell by the little meager supply that it was people who didn't have a whole lot of power, or they just wanted it to drag it out. Okay, I'd like to think that there were some of my Jewish brothers that know how I feel. So that's how I'm going to remember it. But I don't know for sure. Now, one way to look at things is that there are temples in Egypt. Okay? And they were destroyed, like the temple of the Jews was destroyed by the Romans. Okay? They were destroyed by Hyksos a little bit. They were destroyed by Aten a little bit. Remember, he made a new temple. That's why anybody who goes against Horus is looked upon favorably by the New World Order. That's why Akhenaten and Nefertiti, not only because he elevated her the way the Greeks elevated women, but because he worshipped the Aten and not Ra. Okay? So any other god before Ra is not accepted. So one way to look at it is the Jewish temple was the temple of Amen-Ra. Okay, that's where the Jews were. Okay, I don't know for sure. This is one way to look at it. When the temples were destroyed, the Jews amened the Ra, and they went to Israel. Isis, Ra, and Elohim. They knew Asiatic influenced perspective of God. Okay, the Father, the love of God, the Spirit of the people. So the spirit of Apep separated as different groups of people went in there and they met in the temple. So Egypt had a lot of people around from different cultures. Okay, and so when the temple was destroyed, just like with the Jews, they were dispersed. The Apeps, the children of Horus, because of the history of Egypt, the children of Horus were spread out. And because of the power of Apep, the children of Horus who remained true were in Nigeria. And this is why Nigeria is the most populated place. They gravitated to southern Nigeria. That is where Horus was, necking Upper Egypt or Southern Egypt. And then in the north, okay, you had these migrating people, just like you had in Egypt on the Nile Delta. So you had these migrating House of Fulanis and other tribes, houses Fulanis and other tribes. And they merged and became the House of Fulani oligarchy and the resulting group of people. Okay, so they had the Apep philosophy. When the British came, they came to the smartest people, the most industrious people. Look at his mainstream history. I'm not just talking shit. They came to the Igbos. The Yorubas got a piece because they were right next to us. The North, which is still kind of like this to this day, is a bunch of uneducated people. And they're inclined to take an Apep version of Islam. And that is why they took on ISIS. Okay? In the community, there's some Muslims who know how I feel. And there's some Muslims who are Apep, ISIS kind of guys who are looking for any reason to kill Igbos. And right now they're trying to solidify their forces to launch an Apep assault back into southern Nigeria, which is kind of like Upper Egypt, where the Sun Temple went versus the Moon Temple, of Set and Apep and darkness and the bowl, the Greco-Roman bowl that covers the light, okay? So it was these Kissinger, the kiss of death, okay, who killed the Vietnamese. You look at the Tet Offensive, right? So there's people who know how I feel. It's more complicated than you might think. There's people from the temple of Set who know how I feel by Apep as well. So you're going to see that kind of symbolism. There are people from Islam who have a kind of want a harmony, Set and Horus harmony philosophy. Then there's Apeps who want a snake Horus, okay? And the Set is probably not going to make friends with me because they want my place. And it plays out in every African culture, in every country in the world. The story of Apep, Set, Ra, Osiris, Isis, Horus, Neptus, you name it, okay? And then you have these vast little witchcraft, little feminist bitches and these, Sekhmets who sold out and so on, okay? So what has happened is all the temples who used to be the light temples, except for Ra and Horus and what's left of Isis, have teamed up against Ra, Horus, what's left of Isis, and what's left of the followers of Osiris. That includes Beth. Another way to look at it is, instead of having a symbolic leader who settles disputes, who's a man like me, okay? Think about how the Pharaoh looked. Think about how I look. Forehead, shape of the face. Okay, this is what happens when an Igbo specifically mixes with a Asiatic, including a Caucasian, okay? And, this is what they look like. Because remember, my dad's already mixed with the Jew because he's an Igbo. And then I mixed with my mom, who was brought more Asiatic. So Igbo is African heavy. And then there's a little bit of Jew because one Jew tribe out of all these tribes. You see what I'm saying? So it's African heavy, just like Egypt was African heavy. Okay. And so when my mom mixed me, I look, my mom's kind of shorter, Asiatic, arched eyebrows, kind of hawk eyebrows, right? And so when my mom came, it made me look more like the Ichi. Not exactly. I'm tall. I'm taller than they were. Most, some of them were tall, but I'm taller than most of them were. My mom is white and not, Hittite or something. But there's a lot of similarities. Look at someone who's mixed with black and Asian, black and Chinese, and black and a shorter white person. There's going to be some similarities, And that's why I look like an Egyptian. I'm not the exact racial makeup of them, but I have the kind of same history, and the same, including the history of race mixing, including the history of the bad guys on top of who unified Nigeria, and who destroyed it and killed the children of the people who unified it. Who was the Apep, right? The spirit of Apep going after the children of the unifiers of Nigeria, the children of Judah. Okay, so it's a story that goes on. And what happens in America, right? This is like that curse they talk about. It's like a divine curse. It's because the way things work, the way God shaped things, it makes it so this plays out like this. Okay? And in America, again, my child, the Apep got him. He poisoned the airways with his little serpent philosophy. Gave that little serpent kiss. Filled Judas up with the evil spirit and gave us a serpent kiss. What happens when a cute little snake bites you? Okay, you go, oh, cute little snake. But I just wanted to pet you. You're feeding him and stuff, right? He bites the hand that feeds you. The hand, which is supposed to be the hand of Horus, not the hidden hand of Apep. I am from the material, the stone. I am a piece of the stone that the builder rejected. And when the temples were destroyed, the Apeps swallowed the pieces. They kept the scrolls. Whether it was the satanic Jews or the Romans, they kept thorough records. And their cult rituals, including blood sacrifices, are intact. I promise you, I'm not just trying to scare you. This is fucking true. They killed my kids, and they want my rightful place so they can stop me from helping the children of Horus. I promise you, this is what's going on. I'm not some fucking crazy. Look, I have 175 IQ. I'm a brain surgeon's son. Am I some fucking spazzing out homeless bum on crack or PCP, or with brain damage from the war? Look, listen to what I say. Stop tripping about how I dress and how I say it. Listen to what I say. Don't trip about this shit. This is my belief system, and I can look at and I can represent. It's symbolic, and the camera distorts things because this thing is a little bit curved one way, and the way the camera hits it distorts it a little bit. Part of why my nose sometimes can look crooked. Okay. Now, don't worry about the presentation. Jesus presented in rags. Listen to the truth and let it decode your blood and DNA so your mind understands. As your blood starts unlocking, as your heart starts, he's right. Your mind, body, soul. He's right. I am here for the children of Heru. These snakes slither away and hide and wait for your judgment from the Christ, the anointed of my tribe. But I am the prince of the Igbos, and I am here for the children of Heru.